You looking for me, you can find me at the barbershop. Pulling up to get a cut, bumping through the parking lot. I keep it clean, Rico's where I'm running to. If you in the city, then you probably gonna be coming to. Gang getting down, Red's getting down, Nick getting down, Ron getting down, just to name a few. Everybody blade on point. You trying to get fresh, I'm telling you this the joint. Hands down, top shop up in this vicinity. Promises age 9, LaRon been getting me. Temper on the side, I'm trying to grow out the waves.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the K.O.S. Barber Club podcast, where we discuss the collection of wisdom on the science of everything in life. And we do so by interviewing our guests and seeing where they obtained self-awareness and how they created a self-concept to get to the person they are today. With me today, I got a Miami artist, musician, rapper, producer, the whole nine. He's on fire right now. I asked him to come after I saw the show that he did with a few friends of mine, and he agreed, and now we're here. The one and only Shottie.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
I wanted to have you for a while, but now with the whole Go Farm thing coming on, I was like, yo, we got to do it.
The timing is beautiful.
Yeah, it works out.
Let's do it.
How you been?
I've been good, man. Working. Busy.
Yeah?
Busy.
Yeah, you came in with gifts today. This is dope.
I did, bro. I brought you a couple gifts, man.
Check this out. He brought it says nonfiction.
Pulp nonfiction.
Pulp nonfiction. And it's a cassette. I was asking him, how am I going to play this? Because I don't have a cassette, but still, I'm going to get one.
You don't have to have it, you know what I'm saying? You could just, some people just like to collect it. I like to play them, you know what I mean? So when I got any cassettes or vinyls or anything like that, I like to play it.
I like this. This is dope, but different. I always see you do things outside the norm.
I try, bro, because I release so much music that it's like I don't want the shit to get stale, you know what I mean? So I don't want to keep doing the same type of release with the same listening parties, with the same album release parties, with the same merch, you know what I mean? So I always try to change it up.
Keep it interesting.
With each one, yeah.
All right, so like I was telling you earlier, the podcast is about knowledge of self, right?
Yeah.
How did we get to the person we are today? What decisions we made and how we made them. So
How much time you got, bro?
Exactly. So I like to ask everybody, like, when was your first conscious thought as a kid, like that you were really conscious and aware of, like, okay, I'm alive, this is my life, this is who I am?
Sheesh. Like young, huh?
Yeah, like first thought. For me, it was when I smelled paint. When I smelled paint for the first time, I remember that thought, like, what is that smell? And from there, I feel like I started collecting thoughts and then creating knowledge of self.
Interesting. Just off the cuff, I've never really thought about this, but probably the first time that I was in any school or pre-K or like a situation around other kids my age. I think that's the first thing I remember kind of being like, whoa.
So like elementary school.
I think so, or
6,
pre-K or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And what do you remember? Like
not
just
6,
school?
7. Before that.
Yeah, because I know that I think the age is 5 and 6 years old. That's kindergarten.
So I'm sure I have memories from before that. You know
really?
Yeah, bro.
That's rare, dude, because a lot of people don't.
Really?
Like people that are 3, 4 years old, I don't remember none.
Well, for instance, like, so I moved to New York when I was a kid. Like we moved. I was born in DR, and then we moved to New York when I was like 5. But I definitely have memories from DR before that.
Okay, so yeah.
So yeah, I guess like I would say probably my grandparents' house in DR is probably my first memory.
Grandparents, yo, you're like the third person to say that. It's usually that love that you remember.
Yeah, for sure. And they had like the house, you know what I'm saying? Like we lived in El Campo in Cotuí.
Nice.
They lived in Santo Domingo in the capital, you know what I'm saying? So like it was a little more memorable. They had a house.
Yeah, it was
that was
big.
Like, by
everything
the water.
Was huge. When you're that age,
you know what I'm saying?
Humongous.
Yeah, I went back to look at the house as an adult, and I'm like, that shit's a lot smaller than I remember. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, that's how it is. So you were 5, 6 years old. You went to New York.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was shocking.
Okay.
To be honest, I remember like as a kid, that was a shock. You know what I'm saying? Seeing snow for the first time. There's actually a picture. I used it on one of my singles. A picture of me and my sister playing in snow, like for the first time. You know what I mean? And yeah, I remember that being like pretty shocking. And then it's like just as we were getting the swing of it, because remember I went to New York, bro. I didn't speak English, nothing. I was like a little ref, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what do you call it? It was like just when we were getting the hang of it, my father passed away.
Oof.
Yeah. So, and that's like the moment. I think that's like the pivotal moment in my life that kind of like changed everything. Like in the Marty McFly timeline, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where everything changed and shit. Because of that, we moved down to Miami.
So because of the
because
passing
my
of your
grandparents
father?
were here in Miami, and my dad, you know, was the breadwinner. He drove a cab in New York, and we had to move in with my grandparents, and so my mom could go to school and figure it out. You know
So how old were you at that time? Like 10, maybe?
No, I was 7.
7. That's a young age.
Yeah.
So take us there, man. How did you feel?
I mean, to this day, it's probably the worst pain that I ever felt. You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause it was my pops, bro. It was like, especially at that age, like that's Superman. You know what I'm saying? He was Superman. So, yeah, I remember it vividly. That was that memory. I was 7 years old, and I remember it like it was yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But it changed the trajectory of my life. It's funny because like most Dominicans, they moved to New York first.
Correct.
Right? And that would have been me. I would have been like, you know, a Dominican from New York, from Washington Heights. Like the trajectory of my life would have been completely different. Coming to Miami kind of like had a big impact on, I think, like my personality, the way I am,
Obviously,
you know, everything.
The culture.
Yeah, the culture is completely different,
Sure,
you know.
100%.
So, and that's just location. Everything else is also, like, emotionally, I was different after that moment too. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you experience pain that young, it kind of changes you. You know what I mean? So like,
what was it the conversation you had with yourself at that time? Because I'm sure you were feeling a certain way. You kept the feelings in, no?
I've been having that conversation with myself for 30-something years, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that conversation never ends.
Is it like a fueling thing that helps you get through, or is it something that like you need for like inspiration? Or
I think I've accepted it as that's just what it was supposed to be.
Destiny.
Yeah, it's just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? He was here for the time that he was here, and he fulfilled his purpose, I guess. You know what I mean? And that's just how it was supposed to be. Word. It's unfortunate. That's not how I wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? But
I mean, I always say that the universe doesn't make mistakes, man. And
yeah,
sometimes when we think we lose, we're actually gaining, and vice versa. So it's just the way you go about it, which takes us back to knowledge itself, understanding the feelings, the voices, the direction that your intuition is leading you to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once you got to Miami, take us there. What happened there?
Miami was another culture shock. I was shocked. I was hyped to come to Miami though, because like, so
you knew the difference.
We had visited and shit.
Okay.
And like Miami was like the beach. You know what I'm saying? I think we had gone to like Orlando when we were here, so there was like Disney World. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, that's what, as a kid I was like, we're gonna live 4 hours from Disney World. This is perfect. You know what I'm saying?
And then you never go.
Never.
Once in a while.
Yeah, never. Once every 10, 15 years.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Especially back in the days when the families were struggling.
But that was another culture shock too, man. Like, it was different. You know what I'm saying? And it just, bro, everything in life, man, you just kind of get thrown into the deep end. And you just got to learn how to swim, bro. You know?
So you said it. When did you feel that you were thrown in the deep end, you had to adjust?
Well, the first time was when we came to the States and I had to learn the language, bro. That, like, going to school, I remember that vividly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
as a kid, it's a little easier to pick up, though.
It is, but there's still that period where you don't know it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I remember just that was awkward as hell, bro. Everybody's speaking English and shit, and I was like,
yo, I tell this story all the time that I was absent like for a whole week in school, but I wasn't because my name is Jean Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So my teacher, when I came to the United States, she was Asian. So she kept saying Jean. And I'm like, it's not my name. So I'm just sitting there. And I go home and my mom is like, you haven't gone to school. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? I'm doing homework, you know?
Yeah.
And then the whole time the teacher didn't know who I was. And then she kept calling me Jean and I was Jean. I never responded. So I remember that vividly, like thinking to myself, like, okay, I guess my name is Jean now.
Right.
And then I started answering to that and it stuck forever.
I remember when they were like, we were learning colors. I remember they said yellow, and I thought they were saying yellow, like ice. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
and you got it wrong?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, bro, I told my mom, I thought we were talking about colors. All of a sudden, they're talking about ice. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So culture shock.
Culture
Miami
shock.
and New York.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you think that builds your character?
I think it just toughens you, bro.
Yeah?
More than anything, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it just like created a tough exterior, I guess. You know what I mean? And you kind of start learning to like I said, like swim whenever you get thrown in the deep end. Like any situation I'm in, I could kind of remain calm. You know what I'm saying? And assess it and kind of just like figure out how to work within that situation and shit.
Because you've had to do it before.
Yeah, man. We've moved a few times, and you just after a little while you become like desensitized to it. You know what I mean?
All right. So you became desensitized. That built part of your character. So now,
I
like
think so.
middle school, high school, when did you start picking up the music?
The music, bro. This another vivid memory I have is like when I was a kid, I was listening to. I remember the radio, and bro, Fresh Prince came on the radio. I had no idea what rap was. All I knew was like merengue and Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And Fresh Prince came on the radio, like a Fresh Prince song and shit. And at that point, I already spoke English and shit. And I remember listening to it, and it was like a story.
The parents don't have
Yeah, bro, it's like a storytelling song.
Yeah,
that's what got me the most. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this dude's like telling a story, and I'm following along as he's rapping this shit.
And you're young, and you can relate.
Exactly. It's about parents, how parents don't understand. It was like, bro, this dude's speaking to me and shit. So, yeah, that was the first time that I kind of told myself like that. I think that's something I could do. You know what I mean? And I didn't try to do it till years later, but I kind of bookmarked that. Like, damn, bro, that rap shit. It's kind of something I could do. You know what I'm saying? And then like I started obviously becoming more of a fan of the music shit. And it was Naughty by Nature and whatever, Wu-Tang, you know what I'm saying? Dr. Dre, whatever it is that was out at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, like I started writing rhymes and freestyling, but I didn't really start going to the studio and shit. I remember my first studio session was in high school on prom night. So it was like the only time that I could get.
And you didn't go to prom?
I did. I showed, but you know,
After
I went to the
session?
yeah. I had to go to the session. You know what I'm saying? Then rush to go to the crib, put the tux on and shit, and then pick up
you
my
gotta do a
date.
video like that.
Yeah,
That's a good story.
that was my first studio session, man. Shout out to Nick Fury.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah, shout out to Nick Fury. He was the engineer. I came to find out years later, because years later I started working with him and shit, and it was like, yo, you were the engineer at that studio session and shit.
Oh, you guys didn't know? You didn't know?
Nah, I didn't know who the hell he was. Yeah.
Wow. What studio is this?
Miami-Dade, the M studio.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Miami-Dade South, yeah,
So you were living in that area at that time?
in Kendall.
All right. So what high school did you go to? What middle school?
Sunset. I
Sunset.
went to Sunset, and I went to McMillan for middle school, and then I went to Westwood, the private school.
Were you at least writing at that time?
For sure. By the time I got to the private school, Westwood, I was writing. It's funny because one time I was supposed to be doing work, and the teacher found my my rhymes and shit. And they called my mom's, bro. And like they called my mom to like come into the school. They didn't tell her why. They were like, "Oh, you need to come in. We need to talk about this and shit." And my mom's like, "Why, bro?"
What were you rhyming about?
It was some crazy shit, bro. It was some like
shit.
killer shit. You know what I'm saying? I was like Eminem before Eminem. And then my mom comes in thinking it was like some serious shit, and you know they put the paper of rhymes on the table and shit, and they're like, "Does your son know Jesus Christ as his personal savior?" And my mom was like, "Man, get the fuck out of here."
That was a public school?
It was a private school in,
Okay,
Westwood. Is a Christian school. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. They thought I was gone.
So how did you deal with that? Because that's private school. That's serious.
Private school, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know,
Whatever?
it was whatever. I think I got like, they had a demerit system. I think they gave me like 50 demerits or some shit like that. I had to go to detention and shit. It is what it is.
I mean, I don't know how that is. I've heard stories, but when I went to public school, it was like, you didn't have to be there. It was funny. If it wasn't for sports, I would have never stayed in school.
Because I went to private school, by the time I did get back to public school, because I went to McMillan first. Then I was
super
fucking
easy.
up in McMillan.
Yeah.
And so she put me in Westwood. And then I fucked up on purpose in Westwood to try to get myself kicked out.
Wow.
Because all my homies were in Sunset. You know what I mean?
Plotted it?
By the time I got back to Sunset, it was like I had fucking already done like 3 years of the private school shit. So I went crazy in Sunset. I was never in school. I was skipping all the time. It was
That's
like
exactly what I'm talking about.
another culture shock. You know what I'm saying? I was like, y'all could go out for lunch? That's crazy. You know?
Oh, they don't do that no more.
No
I
more.
think we were the last ones, that generation.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yo, for that people that don't know, you used to be able to walk out of school and nobody will tell you anything.
And they just trusted you to come back.
And then you come back if
Imagine
you
that.
want to. Or if you're late, you just say it's traffic, or you don't come back. It was fun. At those, I miss those days. Those the early '90s.
Good times.
Good times. So when did the self concept, the character of Shottie, birth?
Well, the name Shottie was given to me. It was kind of given to me. So I was Deadshot. I picked that name myself, and it was from
Like the comic book?
like reading comics. Yeah. So
I
it was like
remember
at the time, it was just like a Batman villain. You know what I'm saying? Now he's
Was it Batman or Deadpool?
No, it was Batman. Well, I
Batman?
saw him in a Batman comic. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I called myself Deadshot, and that's what I was for a couple years. But even back then, people just called me Shottie because it's like Deadshot's kind of an awkward name to call people.
So it was like a nickname.
Yeah, they call me Shottie, so I just dropped the Deadshot and stuck with Shottie.
Dope. Yeah. And then from there, you started recording. You said in high school and prom night.
Yeah, at first it was a group. It was me, my homie Manny, and my homie Mike, and we were a group called ID4 and shit. And we did, we made a little bit of noise back then and shit. Like we were on bills with Rick Ross and Pitbull and shit. Like we were like part of that scene and shit. They broke out, we didn't. You know what I'm saying? But we made a little noise and shit as a group, as ID4, and then I kind of stopped and went away. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to L.A., I went to New York. I was doing film shit. I was doing other shit, and I was kind of over the hip hop shit. To be honest, I was like, I got a little disillusioned with the rap shit, and I think I wanted to like explore creativity,
other avenues
in other areas. Yeah, so I was out of this shit for a while, bro.
Yeah, because I remember when I first heard of Shottie, I was like, damn, this is dope. Where's he from? And there's from Miami. I was like, from Miami? How come I've never heard it,
Yeah.
And then when I heard that you were like around our age, I was like, yo, how come he hasn't been around? But then it was like, oh, Shottie's dope. From back then, it's like, okay. And then we started listening. I was like, yeah. And like I told you earlier, the flow, the rhyme pattern, the way you drop bars is like, okay, this is different.
Appreciate it.
For like a person that likes to listen to lyrics.
Yeah.
I forgot the verse, but it was you dropped the cafecito, and then you dropped. That was the one that you performed with. What is the Deep Space 9mm band?
Okay. The pure
you said
gratitude.
something cafecito, and I was like, yo, I got that.
My cafecito got the perfect espumita.
There you go. That's when I was like, oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. And that flow, that whole bar, I was like, damn, that was dope.
Thank you, though.
And it was something that I was like, damn, man, this guy's on another level. So, like, what I really want to know is how did you get to that mind frame to start that rhyme pattern and start those deliveries and just the beat selection as well, because it's not normal for a Miami artist to go down that avenue.
Yeah, like the boom bappy kind of shit.
Yeah, it's either boom bappy or they want to do the clubby thing, or they want to like you could tell that they want to fit in, or that they want to be like acknowledged.
Yeah,
When I listen to your music, I could tell you're like, fuck that.
yeah.
I'm doing this.
Appreciate that, man.
So
And
how did you go towards that avenue?
well, you know what? I think I was one of those rappers before that used to compromise my sound. You know what I'm saying? To try to fit in, because I was always into that underground, that real
Yeah.
hip hop shit. You know what I'm saying?
What it really feels inside the soul.
Right, and that's the shit that I like. But I think at the time I was making music with the fucking 808s and the hi hats and like shit. I was trying to like appease to like the Miami.
That's the word.
The Miami crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the difference this time around. When I came back, I said I'm not doing anything that I don't like. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing different now, bro. And if if that's not your lane, if you don't like it, cool. I'm doing what I like. You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't have to appeal to everybody, exactly. I'm betting on the fact that there's a bunch of people like me that like the same type of shit.
Of course. Like, it's not even like, it's just like, it's real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when I can hear music and the first 2 seconds, if it doesn't catch me, I'm like, eh. Or if it sounds just like something else, I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
But once I hear something, it's like, oh, wait, what is that? Who is that? What's he saying? Oh, shit. Damn, play that back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how this whole Go Farm 2 started with me. I was like, damn, this is another level.
Thank you, bro.
And I feel like you are on another level. So if you choose a different avenue, you might not be here now. So this is why it's important for us to explain to everybody
Right.
what was the thought process you had to get to that point.
Yeah, and it wasn't even much of a thought process, bro. It's really the thought process is, bro, be as authentic as possible this time around.
Correct.
And part of that authenticity is I'm gonna rap to the shit that I like listening to myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I might like some trap shit too and all that, but like really when I'm in the car, I'm listening to this type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to make the type of music that I would listen to. That's first and foremost. Second thing is like the bars, like bro, I don't want there to be a difference between the guy that you hear on the record and the guy that you talk to in person. You know what I'm saying? Like I try to be my authentic self. Obviously, bro, when you rap, you exaggerate some shit.
Yeah, you're storytelling.
You're storytelling. You know what I'm saying?
But this is your mindset.
But you could tell it's the same guy.
Correct.
You could tell it's the same guy. You know what I'm saying? And I rap about my life. I rap about whipping at Pumita and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like, you know, I try to be real. You're not gonna hear no fucking.
I think you're the first rapper that I ever heard say Espumita.
Pumita.
Swear.
I'll take it.
Who said that?
I'll take it. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
why
And
like,
I was probably whipping at Pumita as I wrote that shit too. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, I'll take it. But again, that's the authenticity. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like just like stripping away all the bullshit, and it's like, bro, just put yourself on wax. You know,
Put yourself on wax. Message. That's what I want you to get through, because I know somebody's gonna see this or watch this that they're young, aspiring to be a rapper, and they're trying to find a niche when really it's always there.
right.
You just gotta identify with self and understand what it is you like.
Right. And if your authentic self is like some reggaeton shit, then do that. If your authentic self is some trap shit, you know what I'm saying? Then do that, bro.
Yeah, and do it to
I'm
the
not
best of your
saying like
ability.
everybody has to do boom bap shit, the shit that I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. Do what you love to do, bro. And like follow that. You know what I mean?
And part of being underground and being authentic, you're gonna get the people that are gonna tell you, "Oh, don't do this. Why don't you do this?"
Right.
So how do you deal with that noise?
And I don't even like those words like underground and shit like that. I use it because it's just like a quick way to reference what you need to reference.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
But like underground, like that shit's kind of, it's to me that's just putting shit in a box.
Correct.
Because like it's also, so a lot of people try to put me in the same kind of lane, and I understand it. It's because of the beat choice, right? As like West Side Gun and Benny the Butcher and like that lane. And mind you, like that's some of my favorite shit to listen to. But I think my subject matter is different because I'm rapping
Way
about
different.
my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they
different.
rap about their stuff, and by the way, their shit sounds authentic to me too. That's them. That's like their shit. But my shit is different. But I gotta accept the fact that they put me in that box because that's just how people categorize shit, bro. That's how the human mind works. You're gonna put something in a category that you can understand. Like you know when you read a movie review and it's like, this movie is Pulp Fiction meets Forrest Gump. They're giving you references of shit that you already know.
Fuck up the whole movie. When you go watch it, you're like, this ain't shit.
This ain't that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're just giving you shit because that's just how we understand things. You know what I mean? So, I'm sorry to go on that tangent, but it's like sometimes calling shit underground and calling some shit mainstream or commercial and shit like that like that's kind of, it gets fuzzy and shit. Because I feel like I make some shit that's catchy too. And that's not underground, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, when I say underground, is not going with the popular demand or popular sound.
right.
So underground to me is seeking what it is that you like. Because I remember back in the days, I had to seek the sound. It wasn't on.
You got to find it.
Like I would turn on the radio and it was I-95 boys. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. And then until then Mariah Carey, I was like, I don't want to, you know, I had to go and seek it.
You had to dig, yeah.
So when I would go to the barbershops and I would hear this, you know, I'd be like, yo, who is this? You know what I'm saying? And they're like, yo, Smith and West. I'm like, who's Smith and West? And then I would go and find that and I'll be like, wow. And then I'll try to see if anybody else has anything else and then I'll collect it. So that's how I reference underground music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember the first time I heard the name Wu-Tang Clan. I was like at an arcade and I heard somebody,
14.
yo, you heard that Wu-Tang Clan? I was like, Wu-Tang Clan? That shit sounds crazy, bro.
The logo's what got me.
And I dug it up because of that. Like just someone saying the name, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, I got to find out what the fuck this is and shit.
And that to me is the underground.
Yeah.
Somewhere where you have to seek and find.
Yeah, for sure.
Because underground, you got to dig it up. Oh, there it is, and you see it.
Right.
So that's
it's not there in your face. You got to work for it.
Correct. So I don't see it as a full categorized thing. I see it more as a seek and find type of deal.
Yeah.
So like in art and music and film, whatever it might be, you go to the underground, you're gonna find the real, like you just said, whatever it is that comes out of. So what I'm trying to portray is like, did you have a conversation with self or did you have intuition letting you know, because you said it yourself, you could have gone this way, but you decided to keep it real.
Right.
Or you did it, and then you're like, you know what? I'm doing this instead of that. What
Yeah,
was that conversation like?
That was a conscious decision for sure.
Okay.
That's something I decided. I was like, all right, if I'm going to come back and do this music shit, like I had that conversation with myself. I was like, I got to do only stuff that I like, and I got to expose my real life. Because one piece of context is, during the time that I was gone, I started a podcast. It was called Human Sushi, and we did like 100 something episodes. It was like 2 years straight we were running.
Nice.
And I think because of that podcast, to be honest, bro, because, you know, we had guests a lot of the time. It was me and my homie and shit. But some of the times we didn't have guests, and it was almost like
Just normal conversation.
therapy sessions in a way, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
And like, I think I got a little more comfortable with the idea of putting myself out there, like as far as like my real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I used to rap before, it was just like a lot of clever shit.
Glamorize.
Not even glamorized. It was just like I was just trying to be clever, but there wasn't a lot of depth behind it. It wasn't a lot of real.
You didn't feel it.
It wasn't my real life. That, like, you know what I'm saying? I was just trying to, it was like on some like I'm better than you type shit.
Got it.
You get what I'm saying? Like bragging.
Yeah, you're trying to like,
I rap better than you. That was like what my whole shit. There was no depth.
now you're just like, I rap.
Now I'm like this. I'm, you know, I'm a person. I just happen to rap well. You know what I'm saying? But like really, it's about me, the person. You know what I mean? And that's a conscious decision I made, bro. It was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do what I do on this podcast. I'm already talking to people and giving, you know, pieces of myself and shit. I'm gonna do that in the music.
Nice.
And bro, I'm telling you, like the way that my shit is received now compared to the way my shit was received back then is night and day. Like I could see that, like putting the real shit out there, like people just started connecting to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was always dope, bro.
It sounds authentic.
And that's like no hubris, no ego. Like I was a dope rapper back then, as far as like I could put words together well, but there wasn't a lot behind the bars. You know what I mean? Now it's like the real life shit adds like a weight to it.
You would say you feel a little bit more proud of this projects and what you're doing now than before.
100%. I can't even listen to the old shit.
Yeah, what happens when you listen to that?
I
You're like,
cringe,
you
bro.
cringe?
I cringe. I can't even listen to that shit.
What about remixing that?
The old stuff? Nah, I don't talk like that. I'm not that person anymore. Like, I don't
Word.
talk like that. I don't think like that. You know what I mean?
Thank you. See, that's knowledge yourself. Message.
Yeah.
Just because you are the person you are one day doesn't mean you're the same person next day. As long as you know who you are and what you are about, you can focus on anything and achieve whatever you want to achieve, man. That's what we're trying to get through here, because you'd be surprised, man. I got a lot of people in my chair, and then I be cutting their hair and we have conversations, and it's always the same thing. You know, it's like a checklist of life. Like, oh, yeah, you know, because I'm going to check, and I graduated, check, and then I got this job, check, and then I got engaged, check. But then now I'm starting to see the fallout of that decision. So it's like, damn, man, now I'm getting a divorce, check. Now I got my kids every other week, check. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, if everybody has the same story, how come this keeps happening?
Right.
So let's see if we could get something across here where people will snap out of it. Be your authentic self. Do what you think is right, not what people tell you what to do.
Do what you love, too.
Have to, because if
Do what
not,
you
you're
love.
stuck. And when you get stuck, that's not the way to go, bro.
I'll tell you, like, I ain't doing the rap shit for the money. I got 5 kids, bro. I could be doing a lot
You got
more.
5 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could be doing something a lot more financially rewarding than spitting bars. You know what I'm saying? I do this shit because I love it.
Kids probably love it too. How old are the kids?
They love it.
How old are the kids?
They're all over the place. 17, 16, 15, and 1.
All right, let's go to the 17-year-old.
Let's go.
He should be conscious and understand.
Yeah.
She should be conscious, no, and understanding what's going on. What did she say?
She graduated high school at 16 years old.
Wow. She did what, extra credits or something, or she was just too advanced?
She was already a year advanced and then did a bunch of extra credits and
That inspires you.
3 years of high school, bro.
Yeah, but high school is a joke. I don't even, when I went to school, I remember not even going to class and passing the
I don't know
test.
how I graduated, dog. I really don't.
I would go to class and just sit there and be like, okay, and then, let me copy.
The last day of school, I don't know if they did this for you and shit. The last day of school as a senior, they kind of let you go to whatever classes you were failing at and try to like negotiate with the teacher. So I had to go to like I had to go to like 3 different teachers because I had like slightly below what I needed.
Oh, so they told you do this work, do this,
Or just really just negotiate, bro. Like, I was like, yo, man, you know what I mean? And I got them all to pass me. It was like decimals and shit.
With me, it was just absences. They said legally you have to be in school a certain amount of days, and I was way over the amount of days you could be absent.
Thing is, I would show up for homeroom, so I would have like not perfect attendance in homeroom, but pretty decent attendance.
Yeah, you wouldn't get so many absences.
And then after lunch, those classes, forget about it, bro.
Nah, I would. Yeah. I went to Miami Beach High, so we were like blocks away from the beach, but we never made it to school. Dude.
No shit.
Never made it.
So when we first moved to Miami, I was supposed to go to Miami Beach High if I would have stayed. Well, like when I first moved to Miami, I moved to the beach.
Yeah.
So I went to Biscayne Elementary and shit.
Word.
Yeah.
What years was this? You probably went to school with a lot of my friends.
It's in the 80s, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 80, what, 86, 7, 8?
Is this the Let's Age Ourselves podcast? I didn't agree to go on that show, man. No, it was like 8.
Dude, you got 5 kids, one's 17. You're not 30, dude.
I could have started early, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Nowadays, anything's possible.
Nah, I think that was like 86, 87.
Yeah. I have friends in that.
Or no, 87. No, 87. It was like 87 through 89, something like that.
I remember that school.
Yeah.
Nah, I went to the one in North Bay Village.
Okay.
Over the bridge. Friends of mine, my friend said, oh, he went to...
I probably went to school with people you know and shit. Yeah.
That's
I don't remember anybody from back then, you know what I mean? But
you don't have that picture that they take in front of the class?
I might. Yeah.
I'm sure I know that person.
I'm going to find it on my mom's crib. I'll send you a picture of it.
So you have 5 kids. Does that have anything to do with the decision-making you do on a day-to-day basis or not really?
It has everything to do with my decisions. 100%, yeah.
So let's go there. How do you deal with that?
Bro, I'll be honest. Like, I thought having a family would slow the music part of it down. The other side, like the making money, professional side,
yeah,
that always has to be maintained. You know what I'm saying? But like the music part of my life, right? I thought it would slow it down. It actually sped up tenfold. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because it gives you what the ambition to do it, or
yeah, bro, it just gives you motivation. Like when you're single, man. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but me, it's like you have too many options to do too much other shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I'll be honest, bro. Like, if I was, like, a single, no family dude right now, I don't think I would be putting out this many projects. I put out, like, 3-4 projects a year, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so the love for the family motivates.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. It's like I want to... It really pushes you to like show them like whatever you start, you got to follow it through.
Ooh, pressure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And if you speak it, you gotta. What is the saying that don't tell your kids what to do, like do it and have show them how you do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, you got to follow through. You know.
So have you had any of those thoughts before where you're like, damn man, I don't want to do this, or and then you had to bring that up mentally and like.
I don't know if it's like been that dramatic, but it's like, you know, there's days that you don't feel up to it and shit like that. And sometimes you got to fucking pep talk yourself. Yeah. And then sometimes you got to know, all right, bro, tonight's not the night. Also, you know what I'm saying?
It's not the right
like,
vibe. It's not the right situation.
Yeah, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. Like, I'm kind of a hippie about like the creative process. That's the best way to be. I really do feel like there's an antenna to like a higher force that we're all connected. We're all connected to it, and we're all allowed a certain like number of bandwidth depending on how you treat that entity. So like it's like you have to be good to your creative side. You have to treat it well. Like you give and it gives.
Karma, kind of, in a sense.
In a way, bro. It's like I think it's like part of
the law of energy.
You have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to the art, and I feel like the more true you are and shit like that. I know this shit sounds like some far out shit.
Amazing.
Because otherwise I'm like a very logical person, but I'm spiritual when it comes to creative shit, man. Because it's like I feel like that's when I felt closest to God. You know what I'm saying? When I'm like being creative and shit. So yeah, I feel like you have to be good to the creative spirits, so to speak. Give it its respect. You got to be good to the gods. You know what I'm saying? And the gods will bless you. Will bless you. Yeah.
Yeah. You sound like what is it? Maximus from Gladiator?
From Gladiator?
Yeah, man. So what else is on the way? Because I saw you did what's the name of it? Go Farm.
Go Farm 2.
It's on the way.
Go Farm 2 is on the way.
The
yeah.
first one, it was amazing.
Yeah,
I listened to a little bit of it. The freestyle one, the one that I reposted.
Okay.
That sounds amazing. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, that's the freestyle I did to promote Goat Farm 2. The first Goat Farm is actually an album that we did in 2023, which was received well. It's like I told you, like it kind of became a brand on its own. We didn't really even intend that. We just thought it was going to be an album title. You know what I mean? And that shit kind of took off a little bit locally. So me and Tev is my producer and shit, who I do the Goat Farm series with, right? So we had been already thinking about, yo, we got to do another album and shit. All right, cool. Let's not do Goat Farm, you know what I'm saying? We've kind of overplayed that shit already. And so we were working on something else, you know? And I was talking to a homeboy of mine, Nino Bless, and he was like, and he convinced me. He's like, yo, you need like a series. And, he, you know, basically breaking down why it's wise to have like a series of tapes, because if somebody catches Goat Farm 4, they're gonna go back and oh shit, I gotta check out 1, 2, and 3. You know what I'm saying?
So like a flick. You watch a movie. Yeah.
So in a way, it's a good way to hook people into your back catalog and shit like that. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, bro, Goat Farm is like a viable brand. We got to bring it back. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to convince Tev, and here we are, bro. We got part 2.
So you got more to come, huh?
Yeah, man. I think there's gonna be a 3, a 4, all that. Yes, sir.
Fire.
Yeah.
And what else? What other projects you got working on?
Shit, bro. I'm working on a lot of shit, man. I got a really dope project. I haven't really released much about it, but it's with my homie from Cali, War Season. He's a producer.
Nice.
And we got a whole album that's themed around the 1980s powerboat scene down in Miami.
Oh, the Falcon.
They're part of it, you know what I'm saying? But there's other characters that are part of that too, like Bob Kaiser, Ben Kramer, even Chuck Norris was a fucking powerboat racer. Yeah, Don Johnson was a powerboat racer.
That I knew.
Yeah.
Yo,
so it's a whole album
Miami
centered around
80s.
that scene. Yeah,
That's
Miami
dope.
in the 80s, bro. People don't get it, bro.
It was open. It was free. Everything was good.
Yeah.
I remember in the 80s, everything was chill. You didn't have to worry. I remember where Nikki Beach is at now.
Yeah.
That used to be Penrod's.
Penrod's, bro.
You remember that?
Yeah, man.
And it was an open bar in the middle of the beach, and it was awesome. As a kid, we used to run up and take people's drinks.
Yeah.
Little fucking
bro,
street
that's
rats.
crazy. Just took me back with that. Yeah.
Back in the days, man.
Yeah.
I love Miami in the 80s, but now, I don't know, man. I feel that everything's very, I don't know, dry and like cookie cutter, and everybody's doing the same thing. And yeah.
It is, but I'm going to tell you what, as someone that has lived in a few big cities, you know what I mean, like New York, LA and shit, Miami is still Miami because of the people.
Correct, but the people are leaving, dude.
The people are leaving. You're right. You're right.
I see it. I cut there in downtown. I see it every day. Like people, oh, I'm here from California. Oh, I'm here from Connecticut.
They ain't leaving Kendall, though.
No.
Kendall ain't been gentrified yet. I'm going to tell you that.
But Kendall's big, dude. Mm-hmm. Kendall's not like the beach or downtown.
Well, I'm on 152, bro. We got like Palacio de los Jugos right there. So it still feels Miami to me. We got Pasapoga, Palacio de los Jugos.
Where you at? By the park right there on 152?
Yeah, 152 more. I'm actually on 157 on Miller, my hometown.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how long you been there? Since you came to Miami or what?
No. We lived in the beach. We lived in a couple different places, and like by the time I went to high school, we were living in 152.
Nice.
And then I moved, and now I'm living back in 152 with my family. You know what I'm saying?
And what made you do that decision?
We found a good deal on a house.
I just find it so far, dude. When I went to FIU, I was living in Kendall. I was living right there on 127.
Yeah.
And it was just a mission. Everything was far.
By the Flanagans?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right across the street from the Home Depot.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The thing is right there. And then that's when I started cutting at Ace of Fades. That used to be right there behind or next to the IHOP. And I just remember waking up and smelling like the car smog and fog. And it's not the same. The beach, you wake up, you feel the breeze.
Of course, bro.
You smell the ocean, you hear it. It's a different vibe.
Right.
And for me, that helped me. Because when I was in Kendall, I felt like trapped. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait for the weekend. It's way out there, dude. It was crazy. I used to party at the beach and then drive all the way to Kendall.
Me too, bro.
but at the same time, it has its own little pockets and its own little thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that are now like in the hip hop scene that I met there. Like Omniscient was one of them that I met, and it was a hip hop scene that I didn't see here except with First Platoon.
I'm gonna say it. I feel like Kendall has the best hip hop scene as far as like the hip hop shit. Honestly, bro, EFN comes from Kendall. DJ Craze comes from Kendall. Like, you're talking about legends, bro.
Yeah.
I think Epps is from Kendall. Like, these are fucking legends, bro. You know what I'm saying? That dude. I'm talking about as far as like the boom bap hip hop shit.
Correct.
I get it. You know what I'm saying? We don't do like the.
I give Kendall, their props for that. The thing is that me from not being from Kendall, when I went there, I was like, damn, this is nice.
Right.
Like the environment, people. I would go to friends' house and they live in a crib. I was like, oh shit.
Right.
I used to go to friends' crib and it was like a one little bedroom or efficiency,
Right.
and the mom, the abuelita, the 4 kids, and the stepdad in one room. Like that's what I used to see.
Right.
Then when I went to Kendall, it was like broader, like more open, and people had more abilities. Like people had DJ sets and things of that nature.
Right.
Like when we grew up, we didn't have none of that, so it was very difficult. When I met Effect, DJ Effect, is when I first started seeing people with cribs and things of that nature.
Right.
So more opportunities. And then also I knew a lot of people from North Miami that were good MCs, but they chose the wrong path. They went to jail.
Right.
Or got shot.
Yeah.
Or not with us anymore. So what I see is like Kendall kept it moving because they had the ability to do so.
And the motivation and the drive, bro. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying? Like you
That
gotta
comes
have
from
the
the roots,
motivation. You
Hispanic.
gotta have the drive.
Correct.
These are still children of immigrants, even if the houses are a little bit bigger. You know, Kendall, bro. My kids go to school right there in Kendall.
Yeah.
Bro, the fucking their school is 97% Hispanic, dog.
That's dope.
97% Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get where you're coming from, but I only buy it to a certain extent. You still got to be a grinder, bro, to do this shit.
Yeah.
And when I say hip hop shit, I mean that specific sound, like the kind of more East Coast sound. You know what I'm saying? Because like obviously some of the big dogs, Rick Ross and Trick Daddy, they ain't from Kendall, obviously. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
But
they
they
don't
live
do
in
that
Kendall.
sound. But they don't do that
They
sound.
have a crib in Kendall. That's for sure.
Probably.
No, they
Probably,
do.
yeah.
I think Trick did have a crib in Kendall.
If they're trying to drive all the way out there.
But yeah, I mean that's what I see.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it though because they kept it moving. If not, I think hip hop would have been like just like stuck. I think Pitbull was like there, and then of course Rick Ross, and then other MCs took it up there. But as far as like catalogs
Yeah.
of artists, yeah, you're right. Kendall has a lot of artists.
Yeah. And a lot of dudes that are not just artists, like people with platforms and
That
you
they
know,
built.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just people that are kind of like dedicated to that hip hop shit.
Yeah, they keep
And
it
bro, I
real.
don't say none of that shit to be like a Kendall homer. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying more than anything is because I feel like Kendall doesn't get respect. You know what I'm saying? Like Kendall's kind of looked at
I
as
don't think
like
the thing is that I've said this before in the other podcasts. Like, there's no unity. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's North Miami, then there's Pembroke, the Broward, and then there's Kendall, and then there's the beach. Nobody really like collabs. That's why when I
Right.
like what you're doing with everybody that you're working with, that's
Yeah.
like amazing. Like Salazar, when you guys get together, it's like, oh, Mowgli when he gets on, I'm like, damn, this is a new kid. Oh, it's like a flavor, and it keeps going
Right.
and going and going, and I like it because it spawns new artists.
100%.
And
And
it
even
can-
outside of Miami, I try to do that too, man. Like this album that I brought for you, the Alligator Alley shit, that's with a producer from Denmark.
Wow.
This other album, Pulp Nonfiction, like there's producers from fucking Australia, Denmark, London, Japan on this shit. You know
And
what I
how
mean?
do you find these connects with these different producers and artists?
Bro, there's like a bigger hip hop scene out there. I was so stuck in Miami for such a long time. I thought this was the only. I didn't think it was the only one, but it's the only one I knew about. Like
you
as
could
far as like
reach out
underground scene,
and be
yeah,
like, yo, I got it.
yeah. I knew Mowgli and Omniscient. I know these guys, and you know what I'm saying. So that's who I looked at. And once I started releasing music, I think I got exposed to like a wider underground hip hop scene. You know what I mean?
Different
And
sounds. It makes sense.
and then producers started reaching out to me, and then like these labels start reaching out and shit like that, and now I'm kind of like part of like a wider underground hip hop scene that's
you
like
hear it.
that's worldwide. You know what I'm saying? It's not just Miami. And
You
shit.
could hear the difference, man, 100%. Because sometimes I'm like, yo, who is this? Because I'm so accustomed to hearing like the same beats, same sounds.
Right.
And then when I started listening to your catalog, I was like, damn, man, this is like, it goes from here to there, but it keeps that monotone sound.
Mm.
And then your flow comes in and it just takes you to another place, which I was like, wow, this is dope.
Appreciate that, bro.
No,
For
I
real.
appreciate you coming and doing all this original, authentic sound. And then it's putting Miami on the map. Because believe it or not, everybody's like, yo, you heard of Shottie? You heard of Shottie? I was like, yeah, dog, I've been hearing Shottie. Like, people are starting to talk about
Fire.
it wherever you
Shit.
go. Like, the last show you did on Lincoln's Beard.
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln's Beard, yeah. Who was there? It was King Tetris. It was you.
It was the Crazy
Apollo,
Hood, the Crazy Hood show,
The
right?
Crazy
Yeah,
Hood show.
Yeah.
That was like, I went there to see Apollo, and I went to go see you, and then King. And those three are totally different MCs.
Yeah.
And I was telling my girl at the time, I was like, yo, this is dope.
Apollo's dope.
Apollo's dope.
I never met him, but he's dope.
Apollo's dope.
Yeah.
He's a really cool kid, very, very focused.
Tetra is my dog though.
Yeah, he's hilarious, bro. That kid is awesome.
Yeah.
And he has a good vibe. He went to Beach High.
Oh, no
Found
shit.
that out.
Oh, I
was
didn't
like,
know
oh,
that.
shit. Yeah, but he went to Beach High way after I was there.
Okay.
Not to say that I'm older, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, man, I was telling my girl, I was like, yo, this is dope. Because Miami's not known for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always like, oh, this is the one sound or one artist, and then that's it.
Right.
Now we got so many artists that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's great, and I appreciate it, and I thank you, man, because music is starting to get heard, and Miami's starting to get seen for other than the party scene.
That's a blessing, bro.
Super blessed.
That's a blessing, yeah.
But yeah, let's. There's this part of the podcast that I ask the questions, and then whatever comes to mind,
go.
we speak of it.
Let's go.
All right. You seen him? Of course, you've seen him. Bronx Tale.
Of course.
You saw the scene when he asked Sonny if you'd rather be loved or feared.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather be loved or feared?
Feared.
Why is that?
Because it's real.
Nice. All right. Next question. Knowing or understanding?
Understanding.
Why is that?
You seen Good Will Hunting?
Of course. How you like them apples?
Will knows a lot, but he don't understand.
Damn.
You get what I'm saying?
Hell yeah. And for those that haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It's an amazing movie. All right. Wealth or riches?
Wealth.
Why is that?
Because wealth spreads to the family. Riches, you could blow riches in a couple days. You know what I mean?
Nice. Perception or reality?
Can I be annoying on this one? I think
Yes.
perception is reality
Okay.
for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like perception is reality. Me and you could be in the same place and witness the same shit, and we're gonna perceive that, and we're gonna communicate that same story a lot differently. You know what I mean?
See it in a whole different reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when a tree falls in the forest, but nobody's there to hear it or see it.
Right.
Did it really,
Did it really happen? Yeah.
The perception is there once you see it, like, oh, it fell, but like you don't
Mhm.
really know what happened.
Yeah.
All right, joy or happiness?
I don't know. That's a weird one, bro. You know, I was having this conversation with my twin boys, and it was like, would you rather have happiness or fulfillment? And
That's
it's to
another
me,
one.
it's fulfillment. Like you can't. I don't think chasing happiness is realistic, bro.
I don't think of chasing it. I'm thinking more like you just sit and you observe and you're happy of what you're observing. So you're in
Well,
a happy place.
Okay, from those two choices, it seems like happiness is long term and joy is something in the moment.
Correct,
So
correct.
obviously happiness. You know what I'm saying?
And what do you think of the term power of choice?
Power of choice. The term power of choice. Yeah, it makes sense to me, right? Like at the end of the day, you have the power to choose what path you're gonna go on, bro. This is life is a choose your own adventure book. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you got the power of choice, bro. Which way Like these situations are always going to present themselves to you when you have to choose. What you have to do is recognize when you're in those situations, because life doesn't
Correct.
always tell you that.
Knowledge of self, intuition. Damn.
That's the tricky part,
Hell
though,
yeah.
right? Like life doesn't tell you, like, yo, this is a big decision. You ain't gonna know that till years later when you're like, fuck, I should have.
Or you're in a
that.
pressure moment that you gotta like choose, like, oh shit, what do I do? And then that happens to kids when you're with your friends and that peer pressure.
Yeah.
That you gotta make a choice and you're like, so not understanding that helps you get through that.
You got to master like being calm, being in the moment, so that you can think rationally at these like high pressure.
Yeah, you got to
situations.
ease the mind, control the mind, man. Because if you don't, you end up making a mistake, man. And I came up with that question because I was watching something about quantum physics and time. That when you get presented a choice, your decision is so powerful that it alters time. In the sense, like you said, in the Marty McFly thing and Back to the Future, you make a choice, it alters that line, and it's a totally different reality. Not saying that other reality doesn't keep going.
Right.
But your mind and your energy goes to a different realm.
The alternate 1985 where Biff is where Biff is
So
president.
I came up with that question. I was like, yo, all right. And the other good problems. What do you think of that term?
There's good problems, for sure. There's good problems. There's good things that are blessings that they seem stressful when you're talking about it.
Like having 5 kids.
Yeah, those are good problems. You know what I'm saying?
Good problems, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And emotional intelligence.
That's a big one, bro.
That's kind of like what we just talked about.
Yeah, it's a big one, because that's the one that I think I struggle with the most.
Nah, everybody. This is something that I see on a daily basis. Like I'm telling you, people getting divorced over dumb shit.
Right.
I'm like, bro, you gotta control yourself, or your mind.
That's the word. It's like controlling your emotions. You know what I mean? Like
We really don't control anything, but still, it's like you try,
bro, and at least try to have like a goal and end result in mind, and keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Because that way you're gonna check your emotions if you need to. It's like I forget what book I read where it was like, even if you're like, sometimes it's not worth being right in an argument. Sometimes it's more beneficial to you to just, okay, yeah, sure. 2 plus 2 equals 5, bro.
Now argue about dumb shit. Just be like, all right.
Yeah. 2
right.
plus 2 is 5. Yeah, bro. Whatever you want.
Exactly.
Because you know what? Like, if you correct that person, now that person's going to have a grudge against you.
And then
this motherfucker, who does this fucking guy think he is? Yeah, bro, straight up. Sometimes it's more beneficial to you to just like, yeah, bro, sure, be wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's not always. So I think that's emotional intelligence. It's your emotions wanting to be right in that moment. Like, bro, maybe it's literally more beneficial to you if you just shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
I think that's always the case.
Yeah.
Exactly. Damn, that was a dope one. All right, pain versus suffering.
Pain versus suffering. A lot of these seem like it's like a short term, which is pain, right?
Correct.
And then suffering versus a long term. So it's like, yeah, the pain is gonna seem more painful when it's happening. You know what I mean? But like the suffering is where really, bro, if you're suffering,
it's a choice.
It is. Bro, funny enough, it is, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
like,
what we
there's been situations in life where like I didn't realize I was suffering until years later. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Once you realize, yo, man, I don't need to feel like this no more.
Facts, bro.
So message, whenever you guys feel pain and you're suffering from the pain, you could alter that feeling. You just got to recognize that, yo, I'm done with this. All right, logic or intuition?
You need both.
Okay.
You need both.
Okay.
Because like, intuition is great, and I use intuition a lot.
Yeah, it's that inner voice.
Right. But that inner voice could get mixed up sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you
Yeah.
think something is intuition, it's
Without
not
emotional
intuition.
intelligence. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you gotta have both, man.
Okay, both. Intelligence versus experience.
Experience.
All day?
All day, bro.
So
All
the
day.
smartest person always makes mistakes without experience.
Experience makes you intelligent.
Ooh, nice. All right, and then the last one: discipline or self-respect.
That's kind of a trick question, bro. Because like, if you have discipline, you're gonna develop self-respect for yourself.
The way because I was watching like the movie Wolf of Wall Street. Those guys have discipline in whatever it is that they're doing, even if they're doing it wrong, whatever. The discipline takes them that direction, that far. But they have no self-respect in the sense that they're going crazy.
Fair,
You feel me?
fair.
Or like basketball players that they go to practice, but then they don't have no
But they don't have discipline in that aspect of their lives,
because
bro.
they don't have respect for the game or themselves. So would you rather have a disciplined person or would you have a person that has self-respect? Or how would you portray yourself to be in a sense?
But those guys are halfway disciplined. They're disciplined at work, and then they're fucking balls to the wall outside of work. You know what I mean? So that's not
Right.
that's not fully disciplined to me.
Oh yeah, you're
I think
right.
you got to be disciplined in everything you do.
So which one would you choose if you had to choose one?
Discipline.
Discipline all day?
Yeah.
Self-respect out the door?
It's not out the door. It's just like I can't see myself having discipline, and like I feel like that's how you grow that self-respect.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
All right, brother. So yeah, those were it. Everything we talked about was pretty much the come up and how you became Shottie.
Yes, sir.
So let everybody know where they could reach you, how they could find your music, and anything else that's coming up in the near future.
Yo, Shottie305 on Instagram. I believe it's Shottie305 on Twitter or X. My bad, Elon. And yeah, you can find my music wherever you can find music. You know,
All right.
Spotify, all that. Just look up
Hell yeah.
Shottie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Get ready for this boom bap underground lyrical miracle shit.
there you go, bars. Guys, harness the energy, exercise wisdom,
Sir.
live, love, and laugh. Shottie, appreciate you for coming, God. Forever grateful. Peace.